Students, welcome back to your social science political science class. In the last class we had studied about the Lok Sabha speaker, and also the powers and functions of the Parliament. In the powers and functions, we studied about the legislative. We studied about the legislative powers, the executive powers and the functions, the financial power and functions, and the constituent powers and functions, judicial powers and functions, and also we studied about the electoral powers and functions, other powers and functions. We studied all these in the last class. We studied about the legislation, how it makes the laws, then the administrative powers, the financial powers, and the amendment of the constitutions and other powers. In today's class, we will move on to the next topic, that is the union executive. The executive implements the laws framed by the union legislature. It also implements the programs and policies of the union government. The union executive consists of president, prime minister, and his council of ministers, and which forms the actual executive. Now we will move on to the president. The executive power of the Indian Union is vested in the president children. He exercises this power either directly or through officers subordinated to him in accordance with the constitution. The president is the head of the state and the supreme commander of the defense forces of India children. The president exercises his power on the advice of the prime minister and the council of ministers children. The constitutions provides that there shall be a council of ministers with the prime ministers at the head to aid and advise the president in the exercise of his or her functions. According to the 42nd Amendment Act, it is necessary for the president to exercise his or her functions in accordance with the advice of the council of ministers. Article 52 of our constitution has created the post of the president. The Indian president is the constitutional head of the country. He is the first citizen, the head of the executive, and also the commander-in-chief of armed forces. He enjoys the highest position in the country as he is a custodian of the executive powers of the nation. No court of law can question his conduct or prosecute him. So to become a president, what are the qualifications he needs to become a president? First one, a person shall be eligible for election as a president if he is a citizen of India. Secondly, he should have completed the age of 35 years and he is qualified for election as a member of the Lok Sabha. A person shall not be eligible for election as president if he holds any office of profit under the government of India or government of any state or under any local or other authority subject to the control of any of the said governments. However, a person is not deemed to hold an office of profit by reason only that he is a president or vice president or a minister either for the union or for any state. A person who holds or who has held the office as president shall be eligible for re-election to that office subject to other provisions of the constitution children. Now we will move on to what are the powers of the President of India. The first one the President of India is, we are having the executive powers. The executive powers of the President include the head of the Union administration. All executive orders are issued in the name of the President. All the Union officials are his subordinates. Secondly, appointment of officials of the state children. The President makes appointment to the key posts to run the government's administration. So when I tell appointment, what and all appointment he does? Whom does he appoint? He appoints the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers on the Prime Minister's advice. He summons the leader of the majority group in the parliament and asks him to form the government. The Chief Justice and the judges of the Supreme Court and the High Court. He also appoints the governors of the state. He appoints the lieutenant governors and the chief commissioners of the union territories. He also appoints the Attorney General of India. He appoints the Comptroller and the Auditor General of India and the chairman and the members of the Union Public Service Commission, that is the UPSC. He also appoints the chairman and the members of the Planning Commission and the chairman and the members of the Economic Commissions whenever appointed. Thirdly, the third executive power is he controls over the state governments. The union governments may give necessary directions to a state. During President's rule, the control of the union government over states is complete. The fourth executive power is the union territories and border areas. The administration of the union territories and the border areas is the responsibility of the President. The next we are having the diplomatic power. The President has the power of appointing the Indian ambassadors to other countries. Secondly, he receives the ambassadors, high commissioners and diplomat envoys from foreign nations. Thirdly, all the treaties and international agreements are concluded in the name of the President. Fourthly, the President represents India in the international conferences. Next, we are having the legislative powers. The first one, when I tell legislative the powers, the President, the first one is the addresses the sessions of Parliament. The President addresses both the House of the Parliament assembled together for the first session for each general election to the Lok Sabha and the commencement of the first session of each year. In this address, children, he lays the emphasis on the internal and external policies of the government. Children, the President has the power to address either House of the Parliament or their joint sitting at any time. The second legislative power of the President is the messages to Parliament. He has the power to send the messages to either House of the Parliament, either in the regard to any pending bill or to any other matter. Thirdly, summon and purgue the houses. The President has the power to summon the houses of the Parliament. The power to summon the Parliament is subject to the condition that there should not be a gap of more than 6 months between two sessions of each House, children. Normally, children, there are 3 sessions of Parliament every year. That is, one is we are having the budget session, first one, that is which is held in February to May. Then we are having the monsoon season, July to September, and the winter season, November to December. The fourth legislative power is he dissolves the Lok Sabha. Sorry, children. He can dissolve the Lok Sabha and order fresh elections. Rajya Sabha is a permanent body not subject to dissolution, children. You should keep this in mind. Rajya Sabha is a permanent body. Next legislative power is the nomination of the members. The President nominates 12 members to the Rajya Sabha from among the persons having special knowledge or practical experience in these matters. So, in which field? That is the literature, science, art and social service children. The president may nominate 2 members of the Anglo-Indian community to the Lok Sabha if he feels that the community is not adequately represented in the House. The 6th legislative function is the assent to the bill. No bill can become a law without the assent and the signature of the president children. Once a bill is passed by both the houses, it is sent to the president for his approval. So, the president may give his assent, or he can withhold the bill, or he can send it back to the house concerned with recommendations, children. However, if the bill is passed again in the same form, he has to give his assent to the bill. Usually, the houses examine the recommendations of the president children. Then we are having the promulgate ordinances, which comes under the legislative powers. Under the Article 123, the President can promulgate an ordinance which has the same status as an Act of Parliament. So, the President may withdraw the ordinance at any time, children. The power to promulgate an ordinance is subject to some conditions. So, what are those conditions? The first condition is the president must be satisfied that circumstances make it necessary for him to take immediate action. Secondly, an ordinance can be promulgated at the time when both the houses of the parliament are not in session. However, if one house is in session, there is no bar in issuing of ordinances. Thirdly, the ordinances promulgated should be laid before both the houses of parliament when they reassemble. If the parliament does not approve the ordinances, it lapses. If an ordinance is not disapproved, it will automatically cease to operate at the end of 6 weeks from the date of the parliament reassembles, children. The ordinances lapse if it is replaced by an act of parliament. Then we are having the financial powers. A bill for the formation of new states or alteration of areas of the existing states cannot be introduced except on the president's recommendation, children. Formation of new states. Now we will move on to the financial powers. The money bills can be introduced only on the recommendation of the president. The annual budget contains the estimates of income and expenditure of the union government for the coming year. The finance minister, on behalf of the president, places the annual budget before parliament. See, children, you should be knowing all these things. This is essential for each and every one to know all these powers and also to know about this, which is helpful for us. Secondly, the annual budget contains the estimates of income and expenditure of the union government for the coming year. The finance minister, on behalf of the president, places the annual budget before the parliament. The annual financial statement is also laid before the parliament in the beginning of every financial year on behalf of the president. The president can authorize withdrawal of advances from the contingency fund of India to meet the unforeseen expenditure. Such expenditure should be subsequently approved by Parliament. After every 5 years, the President appoints the Finance Commission comprising a chairman and 4 other members. The Commission makes recommendations to the President on the financial matters. Next, we will move to the military powers. The President is the supreme commander of the armed forces of India. He appoints the chiefs of the 3 wings of the armed force subject to certain rules and regulations. The President has the power to make declarations of war and peace on the advice of the Council of Ministers. Next, we will move on to the judicial powers. The President is not answerable before any court of law for the exercise of the powers and duties of his office. No criminal suit can be initiated against him during his tenure of office. The President has the power to grant pardons, reprieves, respites or remissions of punishment, or to suspend, remit or commute the sentence of any person convicted for an offence. In all cases where the punishment or sentence is by court martial. In all the cases where the punishments or sentences for an offence against any law relating to the Union and concurrent list. In all the cases where there is a death sentence. Apart from this, we are also having the discretionary powers. The President of India enjoys a certain discretionary powers. There are certain grey areas where President have to use the wisdom and judgment. What are those areas? It is the appointment of the Prime Minister in a situation where no single party commands the clear support of the majority of the Lok Sabha members and there is a hung parliament. This is because the President cannot appoint the new Prime Minister on the advice of the outgoing Prime Minister who may have lost the election or the support of the House. Appointment of a Prime Minister. Secondly, the appointment of a Prime Minister in case of sudden death. For example, children, by assassination, as in the case of Mrs. Indira Gandhi, who was the Prime Minister of our India, of the incumbent where the ruling legislature party is unable to meet immediately to elect a leader. Thirdly, when the ruling party who has lost the majority support in the Lok Sabha or when a vote of no confidence may have been passed against it, recommends to the President to dissolve the Lok Sabha. Then it is at the discretion of the President to either dissolve the House or ask another party to prove its majority on the floor of the House. Fourthly, the President can dismiss the ministers in case the Council of Ministers loses the confidence of the House but refuses to resign. Next, we are having the emergency powers. An emergency is, what do we mean by an emergency? An emergency is a sudden or unforeseen situation demanding immediate action. So, it is a situation in which the head of the state, who is the head of the state? The President is the head of the state, assumes the extraordinary powers. The President can proclaim a state of emergency in the following cases. I'll tell you one by one. Which are those this one. So, this where it has been explained, this emergency powers have been explained from the article 352 to article 360 under the 18th part of our constitution. This concept is borrowed from the Government of India Act of 1935. The effects of the fundamental rights and the management is borrowed from the Constitution of Germany. Based on the written recommendation of the Union Cabinet, the President can declare the emergencies on 3 occasions. So, which are they? One is the national emergency or general emergency. This is there in the article 352. There is when there is a danger of foreign aggression or danger to the peace and security of the country because of a civil war, insurgency or any other such causes, then we will be having the national or general assembly. Emergency. Next, we are having the breakdown of constitutional emergency, that is the state emergency. This is there in the article 356. The constitutional machinery in a state has broken down or there is a deadlock because of political uncertainties or otherwise. Next, we are having the financial emergency. This is there in the article 360. A setback to the financial stability or credit feasibility of the country is like to occur or has occurred. So, this is about the emergency provisions. Now, we will move on to the now we will, I told emergency powers of what I told. President is to proclaim the emergency powers. Article 356, what I have told, it is here. We are also having the discretionary powers, which I also explained to you. So, in these pictures, you can see the president of our country. They are Rajendra Prasad, Sardar Vallabhbhai Sarvapalli Radhakrishna, Zakir Hussain, V.V. Giri, Fakhruddin Ali Ahmad, Neelam Sanjeeva Reddy, Zail Singh, R. Venkataraman, Shankar Dayal Sharma, K.R. Narayan, Abdul Kalam, Pratibha Patil, Pranab Mukherjee and Ramnath Kovind. So, he is the present president of our country. So, children, I will be stopping here. In the next class, children, we will move on to the Prime Minister. How the Prime Minister is elected and what are the powers of the Prime Minister. We will be studying it in the next class. Thank you, children.